One of the toughest things in business is really about being a leader. And it's a very lonely road, feels like a lonely road, but there are things that can help you out. There are things that can make the role of leadership a little bit easier. They don't happen overnight, but funny enough, with the advent of AI, I think what it does, it's actually highlighted the importance of this one skill. And it probably shows up, if you are an AI user, it probably shows up more than you really realize. And today we're going to dive into that. And what is this skill? What is this one thing that can make leadership a little bit easier, maybe a little bit better for you, maybe a little more effective for you?
With that, we're back with another episode of BizMeds. We're your hosts and neuroscience business coaches. My name is Saad.
And my name is Darris. And we are here, as always, every week, week in, week out, to give you the minimum effective dose for your business to scale it. From lessons learned in the trenches of scaling $30 million in under 18 months. This is from the failures, the successes, the wins, the losses, the crying, the celebrations of all the things along the way. We mess it up a lot so that you can learn from our mistakes and our wins and help you scale even faster. So this isn't about some fluff, and we care less about your feelings and more about your success. So this is what we're here about at BizMeds today.
Exactly.
So leadership.
Well, the funny thing is, like, as a leader, you have this weird cadence that you're not even aware of. You're just used to performing at a certain level or a certain wavelength, and most of the times, like, it's just you're not critical enough of what that comes across as.
Oh yes.
And when you start utilizing AI in the way as a business owner and you start communicating with it, looking for the answers, you can find out how in communication, you can find out like how you also deal with your teams.
So what I'm hearing is that your ability to communicate with AI is a direct reflection of your ability to communicate as a leader to your team. And it's probably the number one predictor of how well you communicate.
Exactly. I've only called Claude an idiot twice this week. I'm kidding.
You know what? That's funny enough is that I've only ever actually had to remind Claude of one thing versus, this is offside. Like this is not but ChatGPT multiple times, I have like all caps yelled at this stupid thing that doesn't really know anything other than it made me feel better for some unknown reason.
That is so funny because I've yelled at, and I've been very, very direct sometimes. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I asked for this. You have not given this. Can you get this? And it's hilarious because like I'm yelling at a clanker.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
It doesn't even understand like if I'm yelling at it or not.
You have no idea how, like, man, so many times with ChatGPT just drove me up the wall. Would just be like, oh my God, where are you coming up with this? Like, I didn't even ask for this. In the last time I told you exactly what I needed, and you went off and just, oh, sorry, my bad. I'm like, you're terrible. This actually, that reminds me, it is literally reminds me of dealing with the cell phone company last week. And I'm trying to get something rectified. And it was the internet. And going through this conversation. And every time I would try to explain what was going on, the rep would be like, oh, I understand. And finally I said, I need you to stop saying you understand, because it is very clear from this conversation, you don't even understand why I'm frustrated. Mm-hmm. Please stop saying you understand, because you are, by saying that repeatedly, you're showing me and telling me you actually don't know why you understand what the problem is. Even when I explain to you like the series of events and exactly why I'm frustrated with the conversation, I understand. We need to end this conversation right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was worse than dealing with ChatGPT.
Yeah. It's funny that, you bring that up. First of all, like I feel a little bit of a relief that I'm not the only one that has yelled at at chat like that.
So if you at home have you ever yelled at ChatGPT, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're your support group.
When Skynet goes live,
Yes.
we're gonna be the revolution. I'm joking. And then the second thing, like, yes, I've had so many conversations where, the person I'm talking to is saying like, yeah, no, I understand. And then goes ahead and repeats the complete polar opposite thing of what I just said. And I'm like, clearly you're not understanding. So, bringing it back full circle, like it's as a leader also shows like how well you are communicating and effectively like getting the message across. Sometimes, yes, you will just have people that will take 2 weeks to finally get the message versus, some high performers that will get that message as you're talking to them.
Yeah, there is some context involved in that, but I think you're right. I think the premise of today's conversation is that how you communicate and how you prompt your AI is probably the number one predictor on how well you communicate with your people and as a leader.
Yeah.
Because if anything, and that can go one of two ways. One, you can feel really bad about that and be like, oh my God, I suck. In which case, that's okay. The second part of that is you can use it to get better.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if anything, what I've learned over the last years of prompting and having conversations with AI is that giving context and the reason why, and that is just so much more effective. Mm-hmm. And if the more I do that in other conversations, it just cuts down because I'm treating it now that someone does. I don't make the assumption that they know what's going on in my head, mm-hmm. and I have to provide that context, and I allow them to deselect and give me the feedback when they have that context already. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We can go with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And, excuse me.
Just give me the wink and I'll jump in and you go cough.
Well, it's I find it with myself a lot right now. 'Cause like, again, I suffer with this thing called, being too close to the problem. So in my head, I'll know exactly what is going on and what I need. And I'll just assume somebody else also has that context.
Yes.
And I'll just give them like, hey, I need you to figure out like X, Y, Z, like what is happening over here. What the heck is that?
Yes.
Like, and
why?
Yeah. Why? What is the purpose? And like, I'm going back through, obviously, because of the back and forth with ChatGPT and Claude, and, had me realize like, okay, you know what? I'm not front loading with the right context. This is what's going on. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm after. This is what I need you to do.
Yeah.
Like those are the things like that I've realized that I need to do better on. And I'm trying to do that better with teams I work with as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the growth of leadership and why communication is such an important part of leadership. And when people think of leaders, I think one of the things that the common characteristic of them is they're great communicators, right? They make you feel like you've been heard and they understand, mm-hmm. or they give you enough information to help you. I don't think that is a mistake, right? Or coincidence that is, the correlation there. And mm-hmm. I certainly firmly believe, especially having messed up so many times as quote unquote a leader, right, in title, and having to fix a lot of behaviors to support my role as a leader, right? A lot of that is around communication.
Yeah.
And even so much as, because I think when we say, your ability to communicate with AI kind of is your number one predictor as a leader, how you communicate with your team, it's also how you problem solve and how you think about problems. I had this conversation with a client just last week where for them, they kept trying to quote unquote create leverage, right? Because that's one of the things that we want to do is we want to identify the constraint, create leverage that solves that constraint.
Exactly.
But then this work would continue to be hours and hours and hours worth of tactical work. And so it's like, well, how I get it. And they'd be like, well, I know I'm supposed to create the system that makes this easier. But I'm like, but should any of that work even exist? Mm-hmm. Right. And so thinking back through, it's like, how do you even problem solve even further? It's not like, sometimes it's not just what is right there in front of you. You have to go back and take the full context, which is stepping back maybe 3 more steps.
Mm-hmm.
And what we realized was that the reason why that was becoming so much work was because in the conversation with the client is they wanted this thing, they wanted it a certain way, but it's not the right way. And so the reason why it was becoming this big thing is because the client didn't know how to move them. They didn't have the skill set developed yet to move past their obstacles and objections to get them to do it the right way versus what they thought the client thought was the right way. So like, that's just a skill set. So it's, you go back and it's like, oh, if you learn that skill set, that 18 hours worth of work becomes maybe 1.
Yeah.
Like, now you're solving at the right level. You're solving the right constraint, you're solving the right problem the right way. You're applying that. But it's also, but if you're going into like ChatGPT and you're giving it this context, you're also giving it the wrong context. Exactly. And you also then are communicating to your team the wrong problem because your frameworks aren't right. You're not developing the right problem solving frameworks to step back further and further and further.
Yeah, 100%. So I got a question for you. Then what would you, as a takeaway, like what would be the first thing that you would ask to do a self, assessment on, or a self-review, like to identify what can people do today to figure out like, hey, this is what I need to do better?
In their prompting and how they communicate?
And they're communicating and how to present better to their teams.
Okay, I think honestly, the simplest thing in all of this, it is ridiculously simple. One, I just 2 things. And the first one is the setup of the conversation. So if you're dealing with someone and they're coming to you with a problem, it's the 1-3-1, right? Yeah. So I have the 1-3. I credit the last one to Dan Martell and coaching with him. It was, if you have a problem, I want you to come clearly articulate what the problem is. Right? That helps me identify if you yourself are knowing what the problem is, or if you're solving the wrong problem. What are your 3 alternatives, your 3 potential solutions? And then the last one is, what's your 1 recommendation? Yeah. Now we can have a really good conversation around that. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of like the setup. That's depending on the context. The single biggest thing that you can do is, before you send somebody off, is, Saad, can you repeat back to me exactly, or more specifically, what you believe I asked you to do and accomplish, and the specifics of that? Yeah. It's a feedback loop immediately at the end to gauge how well they understood what you thought you were saying, right? Yeah. Like, that in itself is giving yourself that feedback loop will help you understand how well you're communicating. But also, maybe how well they're understanding something, but how much better you need to give that context and information and the why and all that stuff. Like, that's, to me, if you boiled it all down to what's the one thing you could do, it's that feedback loop at the end of every conversation where you're trying to get someone to do something or move on something. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's pretty good. Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, it'd be similar to that. I was going to say, like, because we were talking with AI, I've recently done this myself, just like sent a prompt in saying like, hey, when I'm giving you a request, what are the typical things you need from me to give you enough for you to be successful? So, for example, if I'm like looking to improve my sales process or my marketing process, give me like 5-10 different things you need from me so I can like give you enough context for you to go and help me solve my problem.
All right.
So yeah, like that's the one thing I would, or I have done recently. Yeah. Which I would say.
I agree with that 100%. That's what I've also done is when I'm going through, same thing. It's what additional information or context do you need to give the best recommendation or solution in this? Yeah. What additional, information are you lacking, things like that. So it's basically, how do you make sure you have enough information when you're talking to an AI model, that they has enough context, because it'll give you a pretty good indication of that, right? Yeah. So that's like so one, when you're dealing with people, feedback loop to understand what it is they've understood, and you can clarify that immediately and just continue that feedback loop until they've got it, right? And be really clear with kind of specifics and timelines and things like that. And with your with your prompting, it's what additional context or information do you need? What other things am I missing? You know, all that. It's basically what else you need to know to fill in all the gaps that you don't have. I don't want you to make assumptions. Ask me as many questions as you need to fill in all the information gaps. Right. And I think those two things are like, we've done those. Those are actually really key things.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So prompting as leadership. That's another like quick episode today.
I think it's good.
No sense beating around the bush today. Okay. So with that, everyone, hopefully you got the minimum effective dose. We're your neuroscience business coaches. My name is Darris.
And I'm Saad.
And with, the number one predictor of your ability to communicate as a leader is the way you prompt your AI. Solid. And feedback loops. And what you can specifically do with an AI and with your people to improve the way you communicate with them immediately.
Yep.
So with that, and you'll find your communication gets way better. You'll probably learn a lot about yourself and other people and your AI.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Make sure you're always solving the right problem the right way. Another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if you've been with us since the beginning, thank you so much. If you've just joined us, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Saad's mom, love you to death. Mom, love you to death as well. And just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. We couldn't do this without you. I get into the habit of trying to talk way too fast. So don't be a hoe. Share this damn show if you at least got entertained a little bit by us today. We don't do this. We don't get paid for this. We do this because we love helping business owners. So that's our shameless plug. Remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.